I spent my entire life building a fortress of competence around myself, but the night my parents tried to move my sister into my non-existent apartment, I finally tore it down with just 5 words and watched my family's perception of me shatter into a million pieces. My name is Gemma. I'm 32 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I was cast in a single, unyielding role, the reliable one, the rock, the daughter who never caused trouble. My sister, Zoe, 3 years younger, was treated like she was made of glass. When she cried, they rushed to her. When I cried, I was told to be strong, to set an example. Gemma can handle it. That phrase became the soundtrack to my life. School projects, college applications, building a career from scratch with zero financial help. Gemma can handle it, and I did. I worked my way through college. I clawed my way up from an entry-level position at a marketing firm in Chicago over 7 long years. I found a tiny bedroom in Lincoln Park that I could just barely afford. It was mine. Every rent payment was a cocktail of pride and a deep, simmering resentment. Pride because I'd done it alone. Resentment because my sister lived at home until she was 26, her bills paid, her down payment covered. Your sister is more sensitive than you. My mom would say, you've always been so independent. But my independence wasn't a choice. It was an expectation carved into me since childhood. A role I had to play because no one ever offered me a different script. Then, 6 weeks ago, the foundation of that carefully constructed life crumbled. Our company lost a major client. Layoffs hit. Despite my dedication, I was let go. My 2 weeks of severance covered 1 rent payment. I applied for jobs frantically, sure my experience would land me something. I was wrong. The market was flooded. My savings evaporated. When I couldn't make rent, I faced a choice: swallow my pride and tell my family, or handle it. As always, pride won. I packed what fit into my Honda Civic, gave up my apartment, and started living in my car. It's just for a week or two, I told myself, organizing my trunk into a pathetic semblance of a home. No one needed to know. I kept my gym membership for showers. I found safe parking spots. I maintained my appearance, a perfect mask hiding the reality. I used library computers for job applications and took online interviews from coffee shops. And every Sunday, I drove to my parents' house for dinner. I arrived rest with fabricated stories about work and friends. I smiled. I played my part. Those dinners were a lifeline and a torture. A good meal, a few hours in a real home, but each one fueled a growing fury. They were oblivious. Not once did they ask how I was really doing. Not once did they see the shadows under my eyes that my makeup couldn't conceal. Not once did they wonder why I was always so punctual, so eager to leave. 6 Sundays passed, 6 dinners where my mother would grill Zoe about her life, while asking me a hollow "how's work?" before moving on. 6 evenings of my father's proud shoulder, pats for Zoe, and his vague, distant nods for me. The resentment built inside me like steam in a pressure cooker. Each dismissal, each moment of favoritism, each casual assumption that I was fine. It all added up. I started to wonder if they'd even notice if I just vanished. The worst part, knowing that if I told them the truth, their response would be disappointment, not support. A sigh, a lecture, a look of pity from Zoe. So the charade continued, sleeping in parking lots, washing my hair in gym sinks, and pretending everything was perfect every Sunday. But inside, the capable Gemma was breaking. I wasn't handling it. I was drowning, and not a single person in my family had a clue. That Sunday started like all the others. I woke at 5:30 a.m. as the sun heated my car, showered at the gym, spent the day in a coffee shop, sending out resumes into the void. I changed into a nice dress in a public restroom, bought my mother some daisies, and drove to the suburbs. I arrived at 5 p.m. sharp. My mom answered the door. "Oh, you're here. Zoe's running late." Of course she was. And of course it was fine. Lasagna, Zoe's favorite, was in the oven. My dad grunted a hello from the living room, his eyes glued to the game. I set the table while my mom gushed about Zoe's big promotion to assistant manager at a boutique. They're giving her business cards, she beamed. Zoe arrived, and the dinner conversation orbited her entirely. Her promotion, her bad date, her photography class. I was a background character in my own family's story. Then my mother dropped the bomb. Zoe has some news. Zoe looked down. Mark and I broke up. He's keeping the apartment, so I need a new place. A chill went down my spine, which brings us to the favor. My mom continued as if it were a done deal. It would just be for a little while. We were thinking, since you have that spare bedroom, they hadn't even asked, they just assumed, they were planning my sister's life in an apartment I no longer owned. We know it's an imposition. My dad chuckled, but family helps family. Plus, Zoe can help with the rent. That Lincoln Park place isn't cheap. They were still talking, laughing softly, arranging my life as if the last 6 weeks had never happened. As if they knew the first thing about my reality, and the pressure valve blew, I stood up. My hands were steady, my voice was calm, funny. I said, I haven't lived there for 6 weeks. The laughter died. 3 faces stared back, blank with confusion. What do you mean? My father asked. I lost my job 6 weeks ago. I couldn't make rent. I had to give up my apartment. My mother's voice was a trembling whisper. Where have you been staying? The silence was absolute. My car, I said. I've been living in my car. A gasp. That's ridiculous. My father boomed. Why would you do that when you could have come home? Could I have? The words were out, sharp and hot. Have you ever, in the last 10 years, suggested this was still my home? Have you ever offered me the support you've given Zoe at every turn? That's not fair. My mother cried. We've supported you both equally. I laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Equally? You paid Zoe's rent until she was 26. You bought her a condo. You've bailed her out of debt. I worked through college. I have loans I'm still paying, and I've received 0 financial help since I was 18. We helped with college. My father protested. 1 semester of books, 1. I paid for everything else myself. My mother was crying now. Why didn't you tell us? We would have helped. Would you, or would you have lectured me about responsibility? Sighed about how your capable daughter had finally failed. Zoe finally spoke. Gemma, that's not fair. They love you. This isn't about love, Zoe. It's about expectations. It's about how they call you twice a day, but didn't notice I've been homeless for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Where did you think I was showering? Where did you think I was sleeping? How does it feel to sit here and listen to everyone celebrate promotion at a boutique when I lost the career I spent 7 years building? We didn't know. My father said, his voice softer. That's the point. You didn't know because you didn't ask. You didn't know because it's easier to assume I'm fine. To focus all your energy on Zoe because she demands it, while I do what I was taught. Handle it myself and never complain. My mother sobbed. I can't believe you've been living in your car, my daughter homeless. What will people think? And there it was, her true concern. Appearances, that's all you care about, isn't it? I said, my voice dangerously quiet. What people will think, not that I've been struggling, not that I've been alone, just how it makes you look. I stood grabbing my purse. I need air. Don't you walk out of this house, young lady. My father commanded. I looked him dead in the eye. I'm 32 years old, Dad. I'm not a young lady you can order around, and this stopped feeling like my home a long time ago. I walked out. I got into my car, my actual home, and finally I let the tears come. Deep body, racking sobs for the little girl who tried so hard, for the woman who lost everything, for the family that never saw me. I could see them through the window, still at the table, arguing. Maybe they were talking about my ingratitude. Or maybe, for the first time, they were seeing the truth. The week that followed was a blur of ignored calls and texts, guilt trips from my mom, demands from my dad, gentle check-ins from Zoe that I couldn't answer. Meanwhile, my situation worsened. The confrontation had drained me. I was late for interviews. My funds were almost gone. I was skipping meals. Then a thunderstorm hit. I woke to water flooding my car. I tried to drive to higher ground, but the engine died. I waded through knee-deep water, clutching my laptop and important documents, leaving everything else behind. I spent the night soaking wet in a 24-hour laundromat. In the morning, I saw my car, a waterlogged tomb holding my ruined possessions. It was a total loss. Exhausted and defeated, I was sitting on a park bench that evening when Officer Bryant found me. "The park's closing, ma'am. You need to move along." She saw the despair on my face. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I lied, "just nowhere to go." She sat beside me. "How long have you been homeless?" The word was a punch to the gut. It was true now. No car, no shelter. "My car flooded last night," I whispered. "I've been living in it for 7 weeks. I have nothing." She called a women's shelter called New Beginnings. They had a bed. My pride screamed no, but my exhaustion whispered yes. "Please," I said. Lucia, the woman at the shelter, checked me in. When she asked about family, I broke down, explaining the whole mess. "Family isn't always what we need in a crisis," she said gently. "Sometimes we need strangers who can see us clearly." That night, in a shared room with 3 other women, I hit rock bottom. Not because of the shelter, but because I finally admitted how far I'd fallen. The identity I'd built was gone. Underneath was just a hurt child, still desperate for her parents to see her. The next morning, a social worker named Diane told me, "This is a temporary setback, not a life sentence." But meeting the other women, Maria fleeing violence, Tanya battling mental illness, Elinor priced out on a fixed income, humbled me. I still had advantages they never did. For the first time, I understood privilege not as an idea, but as a reality. And with it came a responsibility to accept help so I could one day offer it. 2 weeks later, I was in the common area when Lucia said I had a visitor. It was Zoe. "How did you find me?" "I've been looking everywhere," she said. "An officer named Bryant told me you might be here. Can we talk?" Over coffee, she was different, vulnerable. "Mom and Dad don't know I'm here. They've been a mess, but they're looking in all the wrong places. Hotels, motels. It never occurred to them you'd be in a shelter." "It never occurred to me either," I admitted. "Gemma, I am so sorry," she said, tears in her eyes. "I never saw the imbalance. I never thought about it. I just thought, that's what parents do. For you, maybe, not for me. I see that now, and I feel terrible. I've been part of the problem." She took a deep breath. "I have a suggestion. Come stay with me." I stared at her. "You don't have a place. You broke up with Mark." "I never moved in with Mark," she confessed, embarrassed. "That was something they assumed. I've had my own studio for 3 months. The couch pulls out. You could stay until you're back on your feet." I was speechless. "We've both been playing roles," she said. "You're the capable one who never needs help. I'm the fragile one who always needs rescuing. Neither of us is the whole truth." Her offer was a bridge across years of distance. It was terrifying. "I don't want charity, Zoe." "It's not charity. It's family, real family. Let me help you because I want to, because that's what sisters should do." I looked at her, and for the first time I saw a partner, not a competitor. "Okay," I said. "But it's temporary." That afternoon, I left the shelter with Zoe. Her apartment was small, but it was a home. That evening, over takeout, she said, "I have a friend at Digital Edge Marketing. They're hiring for campaign strategy. I sent her your LinkedIn profile." It was more than okay. It was a lifeline. Living with Zoe was challenging, but we found a rhythm. We had late night talks, movie marathons, cooking lessons. We were building a new relationship, not as rivals, but as sisters. The interview at Digital Edge went perfectly. I got the job. With my first paychecks, I contributed to rent and started saving. I began therapy, untangling a lifetime of handling it. I slowly, carefully, started rebuilding. Zoe eventually convinced me to see our parents. We met at a neutral restaurant. They looked older, weary. "I'm not here to be interrogated," I started. "I'm here to talk about what happens next." I told them everything. Not just the homelessness, but the lifetime of unequal expectations. I spoke my truth without anger, but with a firmness they'd never heard from me. My father listened, really listened. "I had no idea," he said, his voice rough. "I thought I was being a good father by treating you like an adult. I see now I was just avoiding the harder parts. I failed you. His admission cracked something open in me. I didn't promise them anything but a text each week to say I was safe. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, it was an honest beginning. 6 months after that fateful dinner, I moved into my own apartment. Zoe helped me move. Our sister nights had become a sacred tradition. My relationship with my parents was evolving, slowly, with careful steps. They were trying, I was trying. The biggest change was in me. Therapy helped me shed the armor of compulsive self-reliance. My experience with homelessness had given me a profound empathy for others in crisis. I started volunteering at New Beginnings, coming full circle. I hosted a family dinner in my new place. It was awkward, but there were glimpses of something new. As my dad left, he hugged me and whispered, "I'm proud of you, Gemma, not for what you do, but for who you are." It was the first time he'd ever said anything like that. That night, alone in my home, I reflected on the journey, from the perfect daughter to a woman finding her own path, from a family of roles to a family learning about truth. The healing isn't finished, maybe it never will be, but I learned that rock bottom can become a foundation if you build on it with care. I learned that families can break, but they can also heal. They can grow toward the light. My name is Gemma. I am 32 years old. I am not the perfect daughter. I am not the capable one. I am simply myself, complex, flawed, and finally enough. The months that followed were a quiet revolution. My new apartment wasn't just a physical space. It was a declaration of independence. This time, it wasn't built on the desperate need to prove I could handle everything alone. It was built on the quiet confidence that I could ask for help if I needed it. Zoe became my unexpected anchor. Our weekly sister nights were non-negotiable. We'd order pizza, watch terrible reality TV, and talk for hours. One night, she confessed how suffocating she found our parents coddling. "They still talk to me like I'm about to break," she said, swirling the wine in her glass. "You got the pressure to be perfect. I got the pressure to stay helpless. It's just a different kind of cage." I finally understood. We weren't on opposite sides. We were both trapped in the same flawed system. That realization was the final brick in the bridge between us. At work, I thrived. Digital Edge valued my ideas, and without the constant weight of pretending to be perfect, my creativity actually flourished. I wasn't just Gemma, the employee who never showed weakness. I was Gemma, the strategist with sharp insights. The promotion I earned after 6 months felt different from any before it. It was recognition, not just a reward for endurance. My parents and I were navigating a delicate dance. The weekly texts became bi-weekly phone calls. They were trying, I'll give them that. My mother would ask about my work and actually listen to the answer. My father, a man of few words, started sending me articles about marketing trends he thought I'd find interesting. They were small things, but they were conscious efforts to see me, to know me. The first dinner I hosted for them in my new apartment was stilted. The air was thick with unspoken history, but we got through it. My mother didn't cry. My father didn't get defensive. It was progress measured in millimeters, but it was progress. The real turning point came about 8 months after the dinner. My mother called, her voice hesitant. "Your father and we've started seeing a counselor together." I was stunned into silence. "She's helping us see patterns from our own childhoods. It's not an excuse." She added quickly, "But it's an explanation. My mother always favored my brother, and I think I recreated that without even realizing it. I'm so sorry, Gemma." It was the first apology that felt like it came with true understanding, not just guilt. My own therapy was doing its work too. Dr. Reynolds helped me dismantle the belief that my worth was tied to my productivity. I started painting again, something I'd loved as a child but abandoned because it wasn't practical. I made friends in my building. My world, which had been so small and brittle, was expanding, becoming more colorful and resilient. A year after my world fell apart, I stood in my apartment, which now felt truly like a home, filled with things I loved and not just things I could afford. I looked at my life. I had a job I loved, a real friendship with my sister, a budding, healthier connection with my parents, and a community. The journey wasn't linear. There were still moments of old hurt, flashes of resentment. But they didn't control me anymore. I had learned the most valuable lesson, that vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's the gateway to true connection. And that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is finally stop pretending you're always strong. My name is Gemma. I am 33 years old. My family didn't fall apart that night. It was finally, painfully reborn.